something we've been talking about pretty much all semester so far are contour drawings. Contours being, as you know, a line that describes an edge. That's what we've been focusing on for a few weeks, looking for the physical edges and trying to really understand what are those shapes, what are the angles in relationship to the edges of the page, what are the shapes in relationships to other shapes on the page, etc. Now this might be a contour drawing of something. I mean, right now it's just a sort of imperfect circle on a flat piece of paper. If we're trying to make a drawing of objects in the three-dimensional world, an illusionistic drawing, this isn't doing a very good job because we don't really know what it is we're looking at. Is this the outside of the edge of a hole that we're looking down inside? Is it the edge of a ball or a sphere of some kind? Is it something that's a kind of flat object like a frisbee? We don't know. So the idea now is to introduce another use of our line, our contour line, that will actually help to tell us much more about the shape of the form. And that's going to be called cross contour line. This is a really wonderful, useful technique, even though what I'm going to show you in this video is going to seem rather mechanical and dry. Quickly, we'll get to other uses for this, and it turns out to be something that communicates very well and can actually be a really beautiful aspect of drawing. So cross contour line is basically drawing lines that are on the surface of the object as if you are touching the object when you draw the line. So you're looking at the object. I mean, I'm not right now for this demo. I'm just inventing something. But what I'm going to ask you to do is to look at some small objects and to really imagine that you're touching the surface of the object and making a line. So let me show you what I mean. Let's think that this is some kind of a sphere. We can even think about a globe, right? With the lines of longitude and latitude that are going across the surface. Now, I'm doing this very quickly. It's not great, but you can already see at least a good hint of what the shape of this object is now. And if this is sitting on a table, let's say, then we can also have cross contour lines that help us to understand the shape of the table. Now, what you might also notice, which is important for making these cross contour lines work if you want to use them to create the illusion of forms in specific space, is that my knowledge of linear perspective is brought into play here. Here's the thing about cross contour lines that's a little different from what we've been doing to date. You're still really looking at the object and making a mark that is connecting your look, your perception of the form to the mark you're making. In that way, it's the same. But you're also bringing in your imagination in a way that you aren't with the kinds of drawings we've been doing so far, because you have to make a decision. Where do I put the line? Do I put it here? Do I here? What, you have to make you actually have to make a choice, and you kind of have to imagine how that line would look. You imagine that you're actually touching the surface. Every cross contour line, by definition, it's going to be touching the surface. It's going to be describing the actual surface of the thing that you're drawing, right? You can think about my hand here. You see certain edges from the point of view of the camera. But if I turn like this, now you see different edges. You turn like this, now you see different edges. So it's this continuous surface that can be understood as a sort of series of edges or potential edges. But you're going to be drawing across, and it's useful at first, at least, to think about this as if there's a grid on the form. So there's a vertical and horizontal grid relative to the edges of the form. And you see I've kind of done that here. So you're trying to connect the line to the surface of the form as if it's on the surface, and it's informed by your knowledge of linear perspective, because then you start to understand, okay, what would be helpful? Where can those lines go that would be helpful in telling the story of, for example, a flat tabletop that is got this side that's closer to you and that side that's further away. All right, I'm going to ask you as an exercise, and you can use any size paper and any kind of marker you want for this. I'm using very small paper because of my home video setup here. I'm hoping to change that so I might be able to use larger sheets in the future. But you can use kind of any size paper, but do actually think of it as a complete drawing. I'm kind of making these demos, treating this as if it's the whiteboard in the classroom. But you want to really think of your drawings as drawings, even when they're exercises like this. So you want to draw some kind of object. I've got an object right here. Little objects that have a single color, or even ideally are white, are good for this. Simple geometric form, something like a little tissue box, or a roll of toilet paper or paper towels, things like that would be very good for this. Other fruits, would also be fine. So I'm going to make a quick drawing of this using the cross contour technique, with the simplified cross contour technique, I'll call it, where it's just like there's a grid going across the surface. Now I'm going to draw this, and it's going to appear to be a different shape than you're seeing, because my point of view is different. I'm looking at the lemon from a completely different side than you are from the position of the camera. So right now I'm just quickly trying to find, and again, I'm rushing a little bit for purposes of the video demonstration. I'm quickly trying to find a basic sort of exterior contour, and then let's start to think about how can I place some lines as if I'm touching the surface that help me to understand the shape of this surface can be going along that way, and can also be going this way, so that it's like a grid that's helping us to see the shape of this form. Okay, I'm resisting making this a little more refined than I want to try and do to communicate the first assignment here. All right, well this starts to get at it, and you can see if there's a like I've got that small piece of paper, I can kind of see behind, maybe I'm drawing some cross contour lines that help to understand what's going on with that as well. And if there's something in the background, then maybe, whatever that is, I'm going to draw cross contour lines to also describe that shape. Okay, so this is what I'd like you to do. Any kind of drawing utensil, any scale, go all the way to the edge, draw all the edges that you see, and really try and put cross contour lines on every surface that you see. One thing you could do is, if you have a small object, if you're trying to figure out where do I put these lines, because you're maybe not so super confident in your sense of how linear perspective would work on the surface of a lemon, let's say, you could actually draw lines on the surface of the object. And I've actually done that with another lemon here. So you can see I started here at this end, drew lines as straight as I could, which is not all that straight. It's difficult to draw on a lemon. Went here, went halfway across, did the same thing, and a quarter of the way, and so on, right? And then kind of tried to find a relatively evenly spaced grid of lines to go around. So the horizontal grid, the horizontal side, as well as the vertical grid. And you can see how that really helps you to see the three-dimensional object, and you can actually copy those edges that you've drawn on the object as a way of kind of helping you to figure out, where do I put these lines? What angles do they go at? You know, how wide is this shape compared to this one, or compared to this one, or compared to how tall it is? What angles are we looking at here? So again, this might seem very dry, and but trust me on this. This is going to turn out to be a really kind of useful and wonderful technique, and it's well worth practicing. And you can see how knowing linear perspective a little bit and kind of having it in your head is going to be very, very useful as we start to enter these aspects of drawing where your own decision making and your own invention starts to become more and more important.